The courtroom camera captured a moment that left everyone stunned. A young woman sat across from her own father, demanding $80,000 as Judge Judy prepared to hear the case. But what started as a simple family dispute quickly spiraled into a shocking battle of betrayal, greed, and hidden secrets. And just wait until you see the move Judge Judy made that no one in the room, not even the daughter, ever saw coming. Before we dive into this unbelievable case, hit subscribe right now so you never miss the next jaw-dropping courtroom twist. The story begins on what seemed like an ordinary afternoon inside Judge Judy's courtroom. Cameras were rolling, the audience was quietly waiting, and in walked the plaintiff, a young woman in her mid-20s with a face that tried to look confident but couldn't hide the flicker of nervousness in her eyes. Behind her, the defendant entered, her own father. He walked slowly, hands clasped behind his back, carrying the kind of quiet authority that comes from years of providing for a family. You could feel the tension the moment they took their places. Father and daughter, now opponents. What could possibly drive a child to drag her own parent into a public courtroom for money? As Judge Judy settled into her chair, she wasted no time. Her eyes scanned the case file with that trademark sharpness that has made her one of the most feared judges on television. "All right," she said firmly, "someone explain to me why a daughter is suing her father for $80,000. The daughter took a deep breath and launched into her story. According to her, her father had promised to give her the money to help start a luxury clothing boutique. She claimed she had invested months of work preparing a business plan, scouting locations, and even placing early orders with suppliers, only for her father to back out at the last second. She says she was left with unpaid invoices, personal loans, and a dream that had crumbled overnight. But as she spoke, something about her tone felt off. She wasn't heartbroken. She was angry. Her voice dripped with resentment. She accused her father of breaking a binding agreement, of sabotaging her future, and of ruining her reputation with investors. The audience shifted uneasily. Was this really just about money, or was there a deeper wound hiding beneath the legal jargon? Judge Judy's eyes narrowed. She turned to the father. "Sir, your response." His reply was calm, almost heartbreakingly so. He explained that he had indeed discussed helping his daughter start a business, but he never signed a contract or promised a specific amount. He said he offered advice, guidance, and even some initial financial help, but he grew concerned when he discovered questionable spending habits. According to him, his daughter had already burned through several smaller loans with nothing to show for it but expensive dinners, designer handbags, and social media photo shoots. "I wasn't about to hand over $80,000 just to watch her dig a deeper hole," he said. His voice didn't rise, he didn't attack, but each word landed like a hammer. The daughter immediately fired back. "That's a lie," she said, her voice trembling with fury. She accused her father of humiliating her in front of friends and claimed he only withdrew the money because he couldn't stand to see her succeed without him. The courtroom buzzed. This was no longer a simple financial dispute. This was a full-blown family implosion unfolding in real time. Judge Judy leaned forward, her face a mask of icy focus. "Young lady, let me make one thing clear. This courtroom is for facts, not for temper tantrums. You are suing your father. I expect evidence." The daughter fumbled with a stack of papers, presenting text messages and handwritten notes she claimed proved her father's promise. But as Judy examined them, her eyebrows lifted in that unmistakable, "I'm about to destroy your argument" way. The so-called agreement was nothing more than a few casual conversations, phrases like, "I'll see what I can do," and "we'll talk numbers soon." No contract, no signatures, nothing legally binding. The tension in the room tightened like a rope. The daughter tried to recover, insisting that verbal promises still count in court. Judge Judy cut her off mid-sentence. "Don't lecture me on the law. I know what counts in my courtroom. What I see here are vague conversations, not a contract for $80,000. But just when it seemed the case might be decided right then and there, the father revealed something that turned the entire situation upside down. He calmly slid a sealed envelope across the bench. Inside were bank statements, receipts, and a letter from a family accountant. The document showed that over the past 3 years, he had already given his daughter more than $100,000 in various forms of financial support, loans, gifts, and bailouts for failed ventures she had never repaid. The audience gasped. Even Judge Judy paused for a fraction of a second, clearly impressed with the meticulous records. The daughter's face went pale. Her voice cracked as she tried to explain the numbers, claiming they were gifts or family obligations, not loans. Judge Judy wasn't buying it. "So let me get this straight. Your father already gave you over $100,000. You squandered it, and now you're suing him for $80,000 more? Do you think I was born yesterday?" The courtroom fell silent. The daughter stared at the floor, her earlier confidence melting into quiet desperation. The father remained composed, though a flicker of sadness crossed his face. It was clear he didn't come to humiliate his daughter. He came to protect her from financial ruin, and maybe from herself. Judge Judy delivered her verdict with the kind of finality only she can command. Case dismissed. And young lady, you should thank your father for the support he's already given you, not drag him into court for more. Grow up. Her words sliced through the room like a knife. The daughter buried her face in her hands as the audience erupted in a mixture of gasps and murmurs. Before ending the session, Judy turned to the cameras with a look that could freeze stone. This is what happens when entitlement meets reality. Court is adjourned. After that explosive opening, the tension inside the courtroom only grew heavier. The daughter, still reeling from the dismissal of her so-called agreement, refused to let the case end without a fight. She straightened in her chair, wiped the tears from her eyes, and tried one last desperate tactic. "Your Honor," she said, her voice shaking, "he promised me a future. He said he'd always support me. This isn't about money, it's about trust." Judge Judy slowly leaned forward, eyes locking on the young woman like a hawk spotting its prey. "Let me educate you on something," she said, each word clipped and deliberate. "A father's love is not a blank check, and your idea of trust sounds a lot like entitlement." The audience murmured. You could almost feel the oxygen leaving the room. The daughter scrambled for sympathy. She spoke about growing up with a single parent, how her father missed school events, how she felt abandoned when he focused on his career. The more she talked, the clearer it became that this lawsuit wasn't only about $80,000. It was years of hurt boiling to the surface. The father finally broke his silence. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that silenced the courtroom. "I worked 2 jobs so you could have a roof over your head. I skipped vacations. I saved every extra dollar. Maybe I wasn't at every recital, but everything I did was for you. And now you're suing me for money I already gave?" The daughter's lower lip trembled. For the first time, the anger in her eyes gave way to something else. Regret, maybe even shame. Judge Judy seized the moment. "You're not a victim of broken promises. You're a victim of your own bad choices. And if you think dragging your father into court is the path to success, you're even more foolish than your filings suggest." The audience erupted with quiet gasps and muffled whispers. Even viewers at home could feel the sting of Judy's words. The father remained composed, but his eyes glistened. Years of sacrifice, and now this public showdown. Then, Judy did something unexpected. She turned to the father. "Sir, I've seen parents enable their children until they're drowning in debt. You made the right call stopping the money, but I hope you haven't given up on your daughter." The father nodded, his voice breaking slightly. "I never will. I just can't keep rescuing her from herself." For a brief moment, the hardened courtroom felt like a living room. The anger softened. The daughter's eyes welled again, this time with something closer to understanding. Judy let the silence hang, letting the lesson settle into every corner of the room. This was more than a legal dispute. It was a generational wake-up call about entitlement, love, and the real meaning of support. And if you think this is where the story ends, you're wrong. What Judge Judy revealed next turned a painful family argument into a lesson millions would never forget. Before we get to that shocking final twist, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss the unforgettable conclusion to this unbelievable case. Judge Judy leaned back in her chair, her eyes narrowing as she prepared the final blow. The courtroom was silent, so quiet you could hear the faint buzz of the overhead lights. Everyone expected a simple verdict, but Judy wasn't ready to end it with just a ruling. She had something far more powerful in mind. She began slowly, her voice low and deliberate, each word slicing through the tension like a razor. "Young lady, I could simply dismiss this case and send you home embarrassed, but that wouldn't teach you a thing. Instead, I'm going to show you exactly what happens when entitlement meets reality." The daughter swallowed hard. Her bravado was gone. Judy reached for a stack of papers on her desk. "These are records of every transfer, every deposit, every gift your father has given you over the past 5 years. Vacations, tuition, car payments. Do you know how much it adds up to?" The girl stared at the floor. "Over $120,000, Judy said, her voice rising. "And now you have the audacity to demand $80,000 more?" The audience gasped. Even the father's eyebrows shot up. He hadn't realized the total himself. Judy wasn't finished. She turned to the cameras, speaking as if addressing every parent and child watching at home. "This is what happens when love is mistaken for a bank account. Parents, stop rewarding bad behavior. Children, stop confusing generosity with obligation. Love is priceless. Money is not." The daughter's face went pale. This wasn't just a loss. This was a public reckoning. Judy turned back to her. "You wanted a lesson in trust? Here it is. Your father gave more than most ever could, and instead of gratitude, you gave betrayal. Case dismissed, with prejudice." The gavel slammed. The sound echoed like a thunderclap. The daughter flinched. The father exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. But Judy wasn't done teaching. "Sir," she said, "I hope you use this as a chance to rebuild, not retreat. She is your daughter. Love her, but never again let her mistake your love for weakness." The father nodded, his voice steady but heavy. "Thank you, Judge. I won't." The daughter whispered something barely audible. "I'm sorry, Dad." It wasn't a full apology, but it was a start. As the cameras cut, the audience broke into quiet applause. This wasn't just a verdict, it was a warning to families everywhere. And for everyone watching at home, Judy left one last thought. "Remember," she said, eyes sharp as ever, "the courtroom doesn't fix families, but it can wake them up." That wake-up call spread across the internet within hours. Clips of the daughter's stunned reaction went viral. Comment sections flooded with parents sharing their own struggles, and young adults confessing they saw themselves in her entitlement. In the days following the verdict, the fallout was immediate. News outlets picked up the clip within hours, replaying Judy's scorching words on morning shows and late-night commentary. Social media feeds were flooded with reactions, some praising the father for standing his ground, others stunned by the daughter's audacity. Hashtags like Bank of Dad and Judy Justice trended for days. But behind the viral headlines, the real story unfolded quietly. The father, who had once been hesitant to even bring the case forward, finally spoke to reporters outside the courthouse. His voice carried both relief and heartbreak. He said, "It was never about the money. It was about respect, about teaching my child the value of gratitude before it's too late." Neighbors described him as a generous man, someone who hosted block parties, paid for community repairs, and never once flaunted his wealth. To hear that his own daughter had tried to exploit that kindness shocked the entire neighborhood. Meanwhile, friends of the daughter came forward with their own stories. One former roommate admitted she often boasted about how easy it was to get what she wanted from her father. Another recalled seeing expensive gifts arrive at their apartment, designer bags, gadgets, and even a down payment for a car, all paid for without question. To them, the lawsuit wasn't a surprise. It was the inevitable result of years of unchecked entitlement. Judge Judy's words continued to echo across television screens. Love is priceless. Money is not. Viewers dissected every line, debating whether the daughter had been spoiled or simply misguided. Parenting experts weighed in, turning the case into a national conversation about boundaries, financial responsibility, and the fine line between support and enabling. Outside the studio, the cool evening air felt almost unreal after the storm of emotion inside the courtroom. The father walked out first, shoulders a little straighter than when he'd arrived. For the first time in months, he wasn't carrying the invisible weight of unanswered accusations. Behind him, the daughter followed, her steps slower, hesitant, like someone still trying to process the ground shifting beneath her. Every click of the cameras sounded like a reminder of the lesson she had just received in front of millions. Reporters swarmed, microphones flashing in the fading light. The father offered only a quiet, "Justice was done," before guiding his daughter past the cameras. He didn't look triumphant. He looked relieved, like a man who had finally been heard. There was no victory speech, no dramatic celebration. Just a deep breath from a parent who had spent years giving and finally felt that the world had acknowledged his side of the story. Inside, the crew packed up the set. Judge Judy remained at her bench, reviewing a stack of notes as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But everyone who witnessed the case knew different. This wasn't just another episode. It was a cautionary tale that would ripple far beyond those studio walls. Producers whispered that this might go down as one of the most unforgettable cases of her career, not because of the money involved, but because of the way it exposed a quiet problem so many families face, but rarely speak about. Over the next few days, clips of the daughter's stunned silence flooded social media. Parents reposted the viral moment of Judy slamming her gavel, adding their own captions about gratitude and boundaries. Young viewers debated in comment threads, some defending the daughter's boldness, others admitting the confrontation felt like a mirror held up to their own entitlement. Entire podcasts and talk shows dissected the case, replaying Judy's sharp words and asking the same question over and over. Where is the line between love and responsibility? Meanwhile, the father stayed quiet. Friends close to the family revealed that he wasn't interested in victory laps or interviews. His only concern was rebuilding trust in private. "I still love my daughter, but love doesn't mean letting someone walk all over you." Judge Judy reminded both of us of that. He went back to work, back to his routines, but those who knew him said there was a calm in his eyes now, a calm that comes only when the truth has finally been spoken aloud. As for the daughter, she avoided the spotlight completely. A week later, she was spotted helping her father load groceries into the back of his car. No lawyers, no cameras, just a small, silent gesture that said more than any televised apology ever could. Neighbors noticed she lingered by his side a little longer than before, as if trying to repair a bridge one careful step at a time. And that, perhaps, was Judge Judy's greatest victory. Not the viral numbers, not the ratings, but the quiet shift that happens when truth cuts through pride and forces a family to look at each other differently. Her words didn't just settle a case. They cracked open a door that had been shut for too long, giving a father and daughter a chance to rebuild on stronger ground. Because in her courtroom, the law is the tool, but the lesson is always bigger. It's about boundaries, it's about respect, and it's about remembering that love, no matter how deep, should never be confused with a blank check. Generosity is a gift, not a guarantee, and gratitude is worth far more than any amount of money. This case will live online for years, replayed by millions who see a piece of their own lives in it. But for one father and one daughter, it's more than a viral clip. It's the moment everything changed. Proof that sometimes the harshest truths spoken in a firm voice are the very things that bring people back together. And as viewers around the world clicked replay, they weren't just watching a court decision. They were witnessing a rare and unforgettable wake-up call about family, love, and the real cost of entitlement.